So why this whole Andy Burnham issue? I haven't actually been following the news a great deal because I've been busy doing other work for like this investigation study. But I do know that Burnham is going on about this, like getting homeless people, right? What the Labour Party are doing is really clear now. Because it's the Labour Party and it's men who represent working class people, and Starmer completely totally failed, and it was going away from what even the party meant. Unless they totally changed the name of the party, like, you know, the Conservatives went over to Reform and sort of changed their appearance and defected, right? Labour can't continue being Labour. It will have to change into another party unless it actually does something for working class or supposedly poor people, right? And, you know, the government previously was, you know, cutting people's like heating and leaving them in the cold and all that issue to do with, you know, Reeves before and all that. But this is the thing, right? If Burnham thinks that, okay, we're suddenly going to get all the homeless people off the street, it's my mission, it's what I want to do, right? And that'll make it look like we care about people who have got nothing, who have got no money because we're trying to help them out, or even forcing helping them out, right? Studies in America, people in America ended up, like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was talking about this, right? People in America, in all these California areas, right? A lot of shops were closing down. All the retail areas had closed down, and all the shops were closed down because everyone was buying online, and people like you know, Jeff Bezos and Amazon have taken over trade. And that the actual shops suffered. So the actual shops, the high street, the people who have got businesses, right? They all shut down and closed for various reasons, right? Whether they relocated and had to work from home, or whether the business went out of business because of, you know, Bezos and other people selling online, other online retailers, right? Whichever one of those reasons it is, or mixed reasons. So that just shows that even if you've got a business, you're a successful business person, or you actually own or operate a business, right? They were all going out of business because of these other predators or other successful enterprises which were just out competing them. And that's an important word, right? Out competing them. And they just like closed down. Right, and it all fell to pieces. Now that's important. It's a really important example. It shows that something new came along, or something different, and then the old way of doing things failed, or the new business, you know, preyed on it and took all their business away, and then left them, you know, to basically fail. Right now, I know that the cost of prices went up in the area, and people who lived in an area, people who actually were from an area, couldn't actually afford to buy or have a house in that area. Now, I don't think that there was a problem with house building there, because, you know, America has got loads and loads of space. They're not short of space, right? So they were building houses there. It's not like in America, right, when you've got all these vast open places. Now, I can't say I've been to California. I haven't. I have been to Florida, right? I haven't been to California, but I've seen enough of it on TV. Everyone's seen it on TV. You can go on Google Maps, right, and you can, like, literally scroll everywhere to look around every single place, right, if you want. I don't think there was any land limits in America. It wasn't like, oh, we're complaining about the countryside, or we're complaining about, you know, the forest or whatever. They complained about the forest for Cop City, but that was different because it was like a special police facility, and they were complaining about it for political reasons, right? But in America, they aren't short of land like we are here, right? So, like, there really wouldn't have been a problem preventing those people who were from that area and lived in that area from ending up on the streets homeless, right? Because they could build enough houses over there, whereas in England, it's a different argument. It's about what people want the areas to look like, right? And what they actually want, you know, the countryside to be in the layout of towns and places, because a lot of councils just do things for the sake of it. Now, those people ended up being homeless and not having anywhere to live and getting pushed out of society because they couldn't afford it anymore, but also for other reasons. And it wasn't the fact of, oh, they just couldn't build any more houses. Now, the thing with Labour is this. Labour has been obsessed with just building more houses. And now we've got all these immigrants coming over. We've got 24-hour traffic in the countryside. It's like noisy all night, right, for cars on the roads, which is completely alien to the countryside. And then you've got all these boats coming over, and now they're saying, oh, we're suddenly going to click. Oh, now we're going to decide to, why didn't Stammer and Rayner say, oh, we're going to get homeless people off the street, like as soon as Stammer got in, right? This is like a distraction. It's like a campaign distraction to try make the Labour Party look good, right? If Labour wanted to get people off the streets, they would have done it ages ago. But my argument and my dispute is this, right? I do think that homeless people should be looked after, and I do think they should have been doing it years ago, right? But why? I don't think they understand it enough. I don't think they understand the problem enough. And if Burnham has been out interviewing homeless people and speaking to them personally, right, and asking them, why are they homeless? What do they want or whatever, etc., right? I can guarantee you that one of the reasons why people end up homeless is because of society. It's the way that society is, right? And it's not necessarily that they themselves have got mental problems or a handicap or they can't do something. It's the whole competitive model has got out of control. The whole competitive model, and they're even doing it now with like all the council services and administration. That they're all trained. They're all under policies. They're all under an administration. They won't do what you ask. It's not even human anymore. It's not even reasonable. There's no initiative. Humans, firstly, are meant to have ideas, right? Initiative, ideas, right? And be thinking and flexible. The government have implemented a trained regime, right? You will follow this administrative policy to the letter, and there's no negotiation. There's no... I don't even think really that there are any, reasonable adjustments anymore. The government made out that, it wants to help disabled or homeless or people who are worse off, right, through reasonable adjustments. But now whenever you ring any of these services up, right, they don't have reasonable adjustments. The policy, none of the staff actually know what reasonable adjustments are. Try ringing up HMC Court Services on the telephone. They won't even pass a message on. They can't pass a message on, right? It's no, right? And that's society. That's what they've built, and that's what people who aren't homeless and people who are successful and people who are getting places in life are actually getting obstructed now by the government regime. And now you've got Andy Burnham suddenly going, oh no, actually I want to help homeless people, I want to do something for people and help people, right? But how did they get like that? And what is the real problem? The problem is this, and it's particularly to do with England and America as well, right? And I would have thought probably Australia. Similarly to Aboriginals. When Aboriginals end up drinking alcohol because they don't fit in with the society, it's absolutely well documented scientifically and historically and on study records that Australian Aboriginal people tend to become alcoholics, right? And they don't necessarily, some of them, not all of them, I'm not saying all of them, right? Don't get me wrong. But there has been a real problem with them because they don't necessarily fit in with the Western society, right? Now, I'm not saying that homeless people in England are Australian Aboriginal people, but it's similar because what you've got is English people who might have a certain way of life, or like they might be traditional, or they might just have been brought up, look at the change from the 1950s. People are more conservative or more sensible, and now you've got all these ridiculous TV programs like on Channel 4 when they're getting naked, right, on the front of the TV because they wanted to try to change the culture, right, and they're doing all these like loose women programs, and then the whole culture's changing too fast, right? The problem is you've got suddenly, with the click of your fingers, everybody is wanting to be a celebrity or be on YouTube and showing off all the best things, right? The Labour Party supposedly have always been against the Conservative Party, right, for having too much and showing off, but all along it turns out they just wanted to be like the Conservatives, right? This is the thing. When you are not happy or when you're upset, right, there's nothing worse than people showing off, right, or people with loads of things. And this is the problem, right? Celebrities who are doing well and everything's going right for them in life, and they're getting all these crowds and all these people applauding, like, Graham Norton or whatever. It doesn't have to be Graham Norton, it can be any of them, but now loads of people on YouTube will look at all these fans, right? They don't realise the effect that it has on other people because I'm doing good in life. How can this be at all be bad? Because it's disproportionate, right? This is the thing. If you aren't happy and if you are sad and upset, the world, it's a part of it's part of the human condition to have perception changes, right? And so, well, we need to change our perception. We need to try and make perception better. This is the thing, right? It's like, some people, what about the McLaren guy, right, who went into that cellar and he went to have those weird sex sessions in the cellar, right, because he wanted to be, punished for his sexual punishment. That's actually how a normal person would think that is not nice, right? It's not a nice thing. It's actually, hurtful, right? It's actually damaging. But some people actually like it. They enjoy it, right? Now, this is the thing. If you get something, right, either it's good or it isn't. And this is the thing with food and, eating sugared foods. Like, they taste nice, but if you eat too many of them, you go diabetic and it's bad, right? It's like a double-edged sword or whatever. And this is the problem. The successful people cannot reconcile that no matter how much they're enjoying themselves and no matter how well they're doing, right? Well, like, because, so what they do is, we'll get these people on the show. How we can help people is they should be like us. If we get them in the audience and we get them excited and they start clapping along with us, join us, right? Then, we're helping them, right? They need to be like us. There's something wrong with them. They need to be like us and do what we're doing. And if we get them on the show, if we get all the disabled people on the show, or if we get all the homeless people on the show, that'll make everything right. But it doesn't, because they don't want to be on the show. This is the thing, right? It's too much. It's too much. Either you're lonely, you ain't got any friends, and you're sad and depressed, and then it might even push you onto the streets and be homeless, right? And then every time you see a billboard or a flyer with people smiling, it's not a positive, friendly, nice smile. It's like that stupid, ridiculous Amazon box with the smirky smile, which is kind of like evil. It does look evil, right? And this is the thing. It's like these things are hostile. When you are in that state, all these things are hostile and condescending and patronising, right? And this is part of the human psychology and condition. And this is similar with other cultures. And you can't say, we'll make these people go off the streets because, like, we'll just give them money or give them a house and everything will be all right. It's not just like that. It's like they don't like the world around them. They don't want the world around them to be like that. They don't want all these people, right? It's like either you have nothing, it's all or nothing now. It's like either we're going to ignore people, kick them out on the streets, even the government staff. They don't seem to have any imagination or intuition or understanding. All they understand is policy. All they know is policy now. And they can't even think outside of the policy. It's literally like they've been transformed into some sort of robot, right? These people have got to... You don't need the whole country as your friend. You only need 5 or 6 or 10 friends, or 2 or 3. But then, all right, fair enough, there are people who just like reading books. Oh, I'm happy reading books. I'm happy being, like a student or a scholar or whatever. They choose not to go out. They choose to read books and not see people, right? But they still likely go about their normal everyday business. But there's a huge pitch now, like, you have to have all these like it's sociopathology. It's sociopathology, and the people who ended up homeless on the streets have been pushed out. They've been pushed out, and it's because they don't fit in. Because the world that is being built around us, They don't want the world to be like that, and they don't like that world. I don't like it either. And it's like, well, we're having this, and that's the way it's going to be. So basically, Andy Burnham's like, look, right, all these homeless people, right, so what if they don't like the way the world's going? They're going to like it, and we're going to put them in houses, and we're going to make them like it. Also, then you're making them, he's a conform, that's being a conformist. He's a conformer. He's like, right, we're going to get all these people off the street. It's almost really like the 1950s, when you've got, Prince Philip, and Charles, right? Oh, everyone's going to wear 1950s clothes and 1950s jacket. All the men are going to wear shoes, and all the women are going to dress like this, and it's all going to be 1950s, and everyone's going to have a family, and the kids are going to smile, and everyone's going to say hello and, nod their head and smile at each other, when they pass each other on the pavement, right? And this is like, Prince Philip's idea of how England should be or whatever. But now the new idea is like, freaking Loose Women or, Channel 4, everyone's going to get naked or whatever, and everyone's going to have a mobile phone, and everyone's going to have, AI assistant on the phone listening to them, and then if you say, do anything wrong, the government's going to come around and arrest you and whatever, and then there's all these celebrities on the TV, or everyone's a celebrity. These people who end up on the streets, right? I don't think that just giving them a house or even them having money is necessarily going to help them, because I think it is about society, and this comes down to politics, but it's competitive. And going back to the other model at the start with the shops in the high streets in America, why did they shut down? Because something bigger came along and outcompeted them and shut it down, and everyone's buying online, and then everyone's buying more things, and the shops just closed. And this is the thing, it's like, why would, right, it's almost kind of like, if you've got people, and they've got 1 or 2, 3 or 4 friends, whatever, right, and they're having a good time, but then those friends are getting pitched to by people on YouTube, or so, all right, instead of going out with my friends, like, I'll watch YouTube, right? So what you end up with is a YouTuber is competing to have people make a decision. Shall I go out with my friends and play football, right? Shall I go to the park? Or shall I, go for a walk even? Or shall I sit in and watch those, 10 YouTube videos that I've got to catch up with my YouTubers and give my attention to them, right? So then you've got like a YouTuber is competing for 25,000, 50,000 people watching their new video every day, right? And you can't go out with your friends when you're watching a YouTuber's video, right? So, like, so they're actually competing and wanting to try get people to choose to spend half an hour, 20 minutes, or 2 hours to watch their video, and then there's the next channel to watch, then the next, to have people give them attention. And these aren't even your proper friends. They're not going to reply to every single 10,000 people watching their video, are they, right? That you can't reply to that many people. It's like, you listen to me, right? And that's the way it is, right? You listen to me, you buy things off my wanted list. They've even got Amazon wanted lists now where they're buying people things they want off their Amazon wanted lists, right? And it's like, so if everyone's competing for attention, then how are people going to go out and have proper, real human relationships and friendships so much anymore, right? It's accelerating into it so fast. I don't like it. We're not having a choice over it at all. And then we're getting onto AI, where in order to do something about it, to sort it out, you need to either get data or information, and now you need to get help from, you're getting AI, and then you go pay for that. Tony Blair was like, oh, we're going to have freedom of information. Information is going to be free. But now, once you get the information, who's going to process it? Who's going to process that information? And I can tell you this, right? Any information that was worth having from this government is on that, on that government ProQuest database, right? And they won't let us have it unless you go to Boston Spa, right? Or to National Archives. And what is the Labour Party doing about... They say they don't want people to travel and drive on the roads if they can help it, right? And why even use the train? That's a carbon footprint, right? So, but they don't want us to log into ProQuest at home, even though everyone in the country's got a right to go on there and read information and learn things, right? They don't want us to learn. What about all those things in there that aren't scanned? In order to stop what's happening and make a change, you need knowledge, because the lawyers aren't going to do it. They only know one language, which is a suitcase full of money, right? They want money. They only know the language of money, and if you haven't got the money, then they're not interested. And there's no point trying to pro bono places, because I've tried. They aren't interested. We've got serious problems. So, it's not... The homelessness is a symptom. I'm not saying don't help homeless people at all, right? But what I'm saying is, there's no point saying, like Andy Burnham's like, oh, if we put these people in houses, then that's a problem sorted out. It isn't. It isn't a problem sorted out, because it's all to do with sociology and attitude and the way society's going. That's the real cause of it. All these advertisements and things around us everywhere. And Burnham's a city guy. I mean, if you've been the mayor of Manchester, right, and in this city, there's a lot more homeless problems than other places, right? And to be honest, there are some countries where, look at Australia, right? This is the thing. I used Australia as an example earlier. When they rocked up in Australia on the beach, like in the boats, like, in the 1700s or whenever it was, it was that warm there that our Aboriginal people weren't even living like we were 2,000 years ago. They weren't even living like we were living when the Romans came over, right? They were living in a lifestyle which was even older than that, like probably another 1,000 years older than, the lifestyles of what, we were living when the Romans came over, right? And that's 1,000 years before William the Conqueror. They were doing hunter-gatherers, and it suited them perfectly fine. They were probably a lot happier, and I'm not saying that, everyone should go back to the Stone Age or whatever, but what I'm saying is it's likely that they were doing things, being constructive, making things, exercising, and they were probably happy. They were probably happier. If you go back in time to when, they turned up in Australia, right, on the boats, and what they found, those people there, you can probably guarantee that they probably were happier and more content than the homeless people that have been put onto the streets in Manchester or wherever, Burnham's wanting to clean up from it, because it's a hostile environment around it. Because all these things, all these billboard posters, right, are hostile, and all these building developments are hostile. All these planes flying over are hostile. And this is the thing: if you're Andy Burnham, right, and you've got a tweed suit, and you put your shoes on polished every morning, right, and then you put your glasses on, right, to comb your hair and go out. I like planes. I like skyscrapers. I like these, Chanel adverts. This is great. This is the bounty and boon of society. But not everyone thinks it is. And they don't have to. And the thing is, they're trying to make them like it. And that's conformism. You will live in this house that Labour Party provide for you and build, and then you will go to work, and you will make work in a McDonald's drive-through, and you will get to like these bus shelter advertisements and plastic street furniture that we put everywhere, right? Not like, well, actually, maybe I don't want this country to be like that, and I want to vote against it, right? Well, you'll be lucky, because, how are you going to get to fucking London to get onto the, Process computer or whatever without getting a railway ticket when, you're banned from catching trains because, you put on a register or something or whatever, right? That's the problem. It is pure greed, and it's not just homeless people. It happened to the business people. The business people got closed down, and they all went bankrupt, whether they moved to home and left abandoned their shops, or whether, someone just came along and took their business away from them and took all the customers away from them. It's not just homeless people, even successful business people. And it's because of this kind of like Moorish culture that's always doing one-upmanship all the time, and these people who are successful think, oh well, like there's nothing wrong with what we're doing. Well, let's get these people on our show. They need to, and they think that that's the solution to every problem, is get them on a TV show and get them pressing the buzzer. Well, let's get the homeless. I'm quite surprised Andy Burnham hasn't actually rounded them all up and already got them on TV show and saying, like, why don't we, got them on the mastermind chair. You could actually get homeless people on the mastermind chair, and you could say, well, your mastermind subject is homelessness. This is the type of thing that these people actually probably would do, to try and think that they're solving a problem. We'll get homeless people a mastermind, and we'll give them mastermind questions, like, because their mastermind subject is homelessness, and if they answer them all right, then we'll give them a house, and that'll be entertaining for the country, and they'll get a house out of it, and we'll think that'll solve all the problems, but it won't, because these people don't like those things, I don't think, or want them, but they're going to have them whether they like it or not. And this is the thing with local councils. We're building a development. The land's already been allocated, like 5 years ago. So, we pretend that you can object against it, like, because it's not going to do anything, right? That's just like a pretend process that is like in place to make it look like that you can oppose it, right? It's already decided. And normal people are getting miserable now, not just homeless people. The homeless people is like at the bottom end of the spectrum. I am getting annoyed with it. I don't want to go out or speak to anything or do anything, because everything around us is hostile. We're being attacked by successful people, and all they want to do is be successful. And then, but this is the thing, they're on TV going, oh, we're helping people. And then it's like the news women. It's like, oh, there's something really tragic happened. Someone died, right? Yeah, right. She thinks she's helping the whole country by reporting on it, but she's not giving up. She's not sacrificing being a successful news reporter for it, is she? She's not exactly saying, oh, I'm not going to be a successful news reporter anymore. I'm going to actually go and work with homeless people and help them, right? She's still doing the reporting on it. This is the thing. it's not helping. They're helping themselves by helping other people. Oh well, if we have some homeless people on the show, then the show must be good, right? Not like, TV shows actually are a bad idea and we shouldn't have them and everyone shouldn't be watching them. Actually should be out having real relationships with people. But that's not the way it's going. The future definitely is not going towards meaningful human caring relationships. It is a new regime, staff-trained policy government, right, who are non-negotiable. They're not intuitive, they're not intelligent, right? But yet, now, if you want to get intelligent reasoning and someone to actually understand you, that you're actually intelligent and you've got to pay for that. You've got to go and pay for the higher model AI, which actually is intelligent and can understand things, has got a wider context window, right? And then actually your intelligence can be appreciated. So if you pay money to Google, right, your intelligence can be acknowledged. It's like going to university. If you pay money for a high-end AI model, it's like, renting your own professor, right? Your intelligence can be acknowledged. Rather than if you ring up customer services, right, with something intelligent, I don't see the connection there. I don't see the connection there. I don't see how that applies. This is the thing. But what's the solution? Replace government staff with high-end AI models, but then we're having to agree with and go along with the AI agenda, which they're pushing on us. Why? Because these human staff have been told not to have a wider context window. Don't have a wider context window. Don't negotiate, agree, or try to understand people, right? But then, you got to pay to be understood now. You got to pay for intelligence. Either you get a soldier talking to you, right? Some customer services, traffic ticket person, right? Or you got to pay, £100 a week for the AI model, which can appreciate your intelligence, because no one seems to appreciate intelligence anymore. This is the thing, we're getting to the point now where we actually need to get all these problems put through AI. And, I'm quite sure that AI would write off the whole fucking TV. It probably would write itself off of mobile phones. If you asked it, how can we get humans to get along and be happy with each other, it'd probably say, we need to make television illegal, which I severely doubt that Burnham will do. This is the thing, particularly when, the latest cutting-edge craze is having, mega YouTube followers. I don't think that it's going to work. Because homeless people, the solution for homelessness is not, more and more YouTubers with mega followers or more mega TV shows, right? That's the cause of homelessness. And the TV, I don't actually ever, except for that Why Don't You program when they actually do throw something through the TV, right? It's the TV broadcasters. You'll never catch them saying that they're the problem. They will never confess or admit, right, that they're the problem and that their TV programs aren't actually all good for everyone. They're actually harmful for a lot of people, and that, I don't think that anything is going to be done about it, because we're being out-competed. Everyone's being out-competed now by mega stars, the mega YouTubers. And this is why we were meant to fight Hitler. He was going to have all these Aryans, all these mega Aryans. And I don't actually know which is worse, these mega bubble people or these customer service staff.